Welcome to another episode of the Jones Underground Podcast, YouTube edition. I'm here with youth pastor Eric Battle Jr. How you doing today?
Doing good. Doing good. Chilling.
Eric Battle Jr. is a wonderful young man. He has a long background in sports. You just graduated from St. Louis University. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Amen. And now you'll be going to graduate school. Where again?
I'm going to Wash U to get my MBA. So I'm starting in
MBA.
August.
Now, what is your major that you have so far?
So my major in undergrad was strategic communication, and then I went a minor in marketing. And then when I go to Wash U, getting an MBA, and then I pick my specialization. So I might do either consulting or like product brand management.
Product brand management. There's a lot of need for that industry, especially with the technology involved.
Right.
And you're really good with the technology. You've been running the live streams at church. How do you like doing that so far?
I like it. I like the production side, and then also just anything having to do with photo, video. So I do photography, videography, cinematography. And right now I'm working at a production agency over the summer doing some freelance stuff, helping them with their social media. So trying to get more into filmmaking, stuff like that.
Man, that's awesome. So we got a few sports topics we're going to get into really quickly. First, we're in the midst of the NBA Finals.
Right.
We just had a very shocking Game 3 for me.
Yeah.
I thought the Oklahoma City Thunder had it, and then the third quarter happened. Halliburton happened, and Obi Toppin really happened.
Right.
But in your opinion, what is the difference between the two teams? Because they seem to be really close, especially being that both teams are not the luxury. These are both teams that drafted most of their talent, homegrown mostly, you know, with a few free agents thrown in.
Yeah.
So to you, what's the difference in the series to you?
I think these two teams match up together really well. I think the Pacers playing the Thunder is probably a better series than if the Knicks would have played the Thunder.
Yes.
And maybe even arguably like the Celtics, even if they would have played the Thunder. I think the Pacers match up really well. The Pacers, they're a team that is fast paced. So they're super fast paced, kind of like the 7 seconds or less Suns.
Yeah.
But they're a little bit different in the sense that they take up a majority of the shot clock, but they've got so many sets, ball movement, just movement off of screens, flare screens, all that. So their offense is really fast paced. But with the Thunder, they're a team their defense is historical. Yeah, exactly. So their defense is historical. So that's why they match up together so well. But the Pacers, they can play fast pace, and the Thunder can play fast pace. But the Pacers are better in the half court offense than the Thunder. So I think that's what's been happening recently.
I think it's the other way around. I think the Pacers are a faster team than the Thunder.
They are, yeah.
And with them being a faster team, especially with them having to put out a smaller lineup.
Yeah.
So with Turner and Siakam up front, they can outrun Chet Holmgren and Hartenstein, which takes away their advantage on the boards.
Right.
Especially when you see that everybody on the Pacers can run the ball. So if Halliburton gets it, Neesmith gets it, or the other guy, they can get this ball, and Siakam too. They all can handle the ball on the perimeter. They can all shoot jump shots. They can all, and the bench is almost as scary as the starters are when it comes to they can all play defense and they can all shoot threes. Meanwhile, the Thunder have a really good defensive team.
Yeah.
But they have not the depth that the Indiana Pacers have when it comes to running the ball down the court.
Yeah.
And making you pay when you don't get back.
Yeah. The Thunder, throughout the season, they're able to speed it up because they do have like J-Dub, Shea, so they can speed it up. The thing that I think is their problem is they, outside of Shea and J-Dub, they don't have many people who can create their shot on and that's a half court offense. With the Pacers, if you watch their sets, it's like constant ball movement, and that's the thing. Like they're a fast team, but they're not just fast in transition. Like they're just fast, just their sets in general. And so that's what makes them so hard to play. Yep. And that's what makes it so difficult because the Thunder are an elite defensive team.
Yep.
But what makes it so difficult with the Pacers is the fact that since there's so much movement, if you're running around screens all day, and then somebody like Shea, you know, he's having to score, handle the ball, do all that, and you're running around screens all day, you're gonna get tired.
Oh yeah.
So that's why the team, when you see the Pacers play, they've played this pace all season, so they're used to it. But when you see the Pacers play in a 7-game series, that's why they're able to pull off these comebacks, because they're tiring the team out, their opponent out the entire time. And so towards the end, exactly. And towards the end, that's when you start to make, when you're tired, that's when you start to make those mistakes. And so that's what you saw with the Knicks. The Knicks kept turning it over. The first game against the Thunder kept turning the ball over. It's because they're tired. They're having to chase this team all day. Yeah. And so that's part of it as well.
I think the issues that the Thunder have is, number one, there's a coaching disparity.
Yeah.
Carlisle has a lot more experience than the coach on the Thunder had.
Yeah.
He's coached Jason Kidd. He's been in the finals. He's won NBA championships before. He knows how to manage talent.
Yeah.
And not only that, he does have the horses out on the bench.
Right.
But imagine you're a 7-footer or 6'11" guy. You just ran full court to get back in transitions, and you got Miles Turner or Pascal Siakam wide open on the perimeter. And now you got to try to close out to them. Yeah. And so it's just one of those things where the NBA has always been, to me, a young man's game anyway, as far as like, you have to be able to run and, you know, be athletic and do all those things that a younger person does. Right. But the Pacers, especially not having a bona fide, you don't have a LeBron James. You don't have a Luka Doncic. You don't have a, you know, James Harden or Giannis.
A Shea.
Yeah, you don't have none of those. But by the fact that you have a death by 1,000 cuts,
right?
You're gonna run
I agree.
And find a way to beat you on the other end.
Right.
And then the fact that I don't think they're not Oklahoma City good defensively, but I think they play good enough defense.
Yeah, 100%.
When they got two guys that will lock anybody up. Yeah, and so I want the Thunder to win because, you know, Shea is a bona fide superstar. I think that they got a better team. But a piece of me is thinking that with the disparity in coaching, we got Rick Carlisle over here with all this experience. It lets me know that the Thunder may just be one more year away. But we'll see. You know, if Shea can pull his if Shea the man, then you can, you know.
Right. Yeah,
beat them down.
I agree. I think the thing with the Thunder that's interesting is it's kind of like with college basketball. So the Thunder almost won 70 games this year, and they're such a young team. It's kind of like college basketball. It's like, if a team is undefeated going into the tournament, they're never going to win because, well, unless it's like UConn, they won last year, but they had just come off a championship. Right. But if a team's undefeated coming into the tournament and they're just blowing every team out, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to win the tournament because they haven't faced that level of, like, they don't know what it feels like to lose. You know, they haven't faced that level of adversity. And I feel like that could kind of be the thing with the Thunder, because we kind of saw it with the Nuggets series. They ended up winning that series, but the Nuggets took them to 10 because, I mean, the Nuggets are a team that when they got the Thunder uncomfortable, they were able to win those games easily. Yeah. And that's kind of like what's happening with the Pacers, because even against the Nuggets, in order to beat them, the Thunder had to blow them out in Game 7. Oh, yeah. So it's like they're used to blowing teams out. They're used to winning decisively. They're used to sweeping their opponent almost. I mean,
getting close.
Yeah, like there are some red flags with the team, and the fact that, I mean, the Timberwolves were able to beat them by 40. Yeah. So there's some like red flags with them when you look at some stuff might just come with experience. Like, they're the youngest team in the league right now, just by general age and average. So there's some stuff that's going to come with experience. Like, I think some stuff is going to come with in the offseason, making some moves, like maybe getting like another secondary or another ball handler with Shea and J-Dub. Some people have been talking about maybe trading J-Dub. I don't think they should do that. No, don't do that.
He got a superstar.
Don't do that. Yeah, it's like the Celtics. People wanted them to trade Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Yeah, they were like, and they eventually won a championship. So just hold on, let them grow organically. And if they do lose this series, I'm almost positive that they can keep their team. I mean, they're not touching the second apron. So if they can keep their team and, you know, level out some of that depth a little bit, they could easily win the finals next year. So
the hot stove on the NBA is the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
So the New York Knicks are they fired their coach, which is crazy because they were not touching the playoffs, before they hired him. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that shocked me about it is now they're talking about trading to get Kevin Durant or Giannis. Now, if you can trade Karl Anthony Towns to get Giannis,
that'd be awesome.
I hate to hurt his feelings, but I would do that even though I think that Karl Anthony Towns is a better fit with the team they have. Mm-hmm. I think the issue they have is Karl Anthony Towns is a liability on defense.
Yes.
Because if he wakes up and plays like a 7-footer is supposed to play, I think they could have beat the Pacers. I think they would not have lost those leads the way that they did in the fourth quarter. Yeah. But as far as the overreaction from management, firing the coach, now you're talking about bringing Kevin Durant in or somebody like that. How many championships does Kevin Durant have without the Warriors?
None. Yeah.
No. And you're going to put him with a championship hungry squad? I mean, what did he do the last time he was in New York?
I mean, to be fair, that Nets team easily, I think, could have won the championship. It was without that Kevin Durant 3 where his foot was on the line. I think they would have won that year. And then they just got unlucky with injuries. Like that was the last time like a team of 3 big stars could have won. I think that team, their offense was historical. I think that team could have won a championship. Yeah. And the Knicks right now trading for KD, I mean, KD can fit anywhere. So I would be interested in it to see him in the Garden because whatever KD plays next is his last team. Yeah. Like it has to be. It has to. He's 35. So I hope it's like his last contract. And I would like to see him retire with the Knicks uniform. I don't want to see him retire on the Timberwolves, honestly. As cool as it would be to see him play with Ant, I don't want to see that. The Spurs would be interesting. That would be cool.
I think New York needs to keep with the team they have. They traded 5 first-round picks to get Mikal Bridges.
And that's tough. Yeah.
If you put Mikal Bridges, if you brought him to us to put him in front of this camera, 90% of people wouldn't even know who he is.
And that's the thing. Like the NBA now, it's just every trades has just been so inflated. So a player like that is going to get you like 5 first-round picks. Like everything's so inflated now in terms of trade value because Rudy Gobert got the Jazz 5 when they traded him.
And he couldn't play.
Yeah, he couldn't play.
He couldn't play with the Thunder because they just ran him out of the lineup.
Yeah, they dared him to beat them on offense, which if you're doing that, you're probably going to win the game.
Right.
And so that's the thing. Like the Knicks are in a situation where I think, honestly, I mean, you're going to need to get because they're doing the Mitchell Robinson Cat thing, and that looked good for some minutes. But Cat is a player who his defense is extremely poor.
Yes.
And we really got exposed in these playoffs. And it kind of puts into perspective how much being on the Timberwolves really did for him.
Yeah.
Because if he's next to Rudy Gobert, I mean, you're not going to notice the fact that he can't defend.
He can't do anything.
Yeah, because Rudy Gobert is an amazing defender. So you can't notice the fact that Cat can't defend as well. But when he's the only guy.
We can't play with 2 centers out there.
Yeah, right.
These teams run small. And
right.
Run you out the gym.
Exactly. So the Knicks, I mean, they're in a. It's tough because they just made the conference final, so I don't want to say like they're in a bad situation, but they are going to have to figure some stuff out this offseason. If it is like a Mikal Bridges trade, I think trading Mikal will be fine. He did not play well at all. He was shooting fadeaways 3 feet from the basket. It was terrible. So
he was out there watching games.
It was bad. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Exactly. So if they trade Mikal for Kevin Durant, I can't even fault them. I think that's a pretty good trade. It's just I don't think the Suns are taking that. I think the Suns want to trade KD to the Rockets because the Rockets have their picks. But
and Rockets got everybody's picks.
Them and the Thunder. So I mean, So we'll see what happens. But the Knicks, I mean, firing Tibbs, I don't agree with it.
No.
I mean, I don't see why. I think that he did a lot for them. Yeah. I mean, I guess there were some moments in the playoffs where like his rotations were a little bit questionable.
Yeah, they were short.
Yeah, but I would have just kept him. I don't know who exactly. I mean, they might get Mike Malone, who got fired from the Nuggets. He'd be a good pickup, but I mean, they're trying to interview other coaches. I think I would have just kept Tibbs.
Mike Malone got fired on a team before they got to playoffs.
right.
And if he got fired on a team that was playoff bound before the playoffs even happened, and it would have been a thing if the Denver Nuggets were like sixth or if they were a play-in team. No, they were right in the middle of the playoff or title hunt.
Right.
They were in, going into the Western Conference Finals and everything, and their coach got fired. And that's one of those things where if they would have had Mike Malone, maybe they would have found a way to beat the Thunder.
Yeah.
But once again,
that's true. Yeah.
It was voices, voices in everybody's head. It was things going on behind the scenes that people don't want to talk about. Because they not only
I think he lost the locker room. Yeah.
They got rid of the general manager, I think, too. So, but on the other side of it, New York is looking at Jason Kidd.
Yeah, I saw that. And
do you think Jason Kidd, especially with Dallas having the number 1 pick, and we'll get into that. Do you think Jason Kidd would leave Dallas and come to New York to get in that situation?
Well, I feel sorry for Jason Kidd because even if he wanted to, their front office was like, no, you can't interview him. So that's dead. And I mean, for Jason Kidd, honestly, like after what Nico Harrison pulled, like back at the trade deal, I would be fine with going. I would not want to stay on that team. And if they wouldn't have gotten the first pick, them getting the first pick makes that job way more appealing than it would have been if they would have gotten 12 like they were projected. Yeah. If they would have gotten the 11th pick, if I'm Jason Kidd, I would not want to be a part of that organization.
Now, I wouldn't want to be a part of New York because job security in New York is not the name of the game there.
Yeah.
But I think with Dallas and the situation they had with them, where they traded Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
And Luka Doncic had a situation that was only beneficial for him in Dallas. You ain't got to play no defense. You can do whatever you want with the ball. These other guys already know. I think they messed up on 2 occasions. They messed up when they traded. They messed up when they let Brunson sign.
Yeah, they let him sign with the Knicks.
And that was a big deal because you took the only other player that could create shots and get the ball out of. Yeah. The only other player he respected, really, took him away. They still got to a conference finals. Yeah. You could have probably got to a conference finals if you'd have kept Luka and let him get help.
I mean,
So I'm wondering, what pitches they got on him or was it really that bad?
That was going through my head. I was like, what? Like, it has to be something.
There's got to be somebody's wife that got messed. Somebody got offended. He did something where he was like,
I think that the Mavericks are just a terrible organization. I just think they have a horrible. Their top to bottom, their leadership is just awful. Yeah. They're the new people. Well, Mark Cuban, he was good, but the new people, I don't think they're basketball people, which is a problem because they just let their GM just do whatever he wanted. And their GM made an extremely stupid decision. And I just think he was stupid at the end of the day.
All right, now that Luka's with the Lakers, we're gonna get to back to the Mavericks in a minute. Now with Luka Doncic playing with the Los Angeles Lakers. And I know he's going to get a max deal. Yeah. Because, he's Luka, that type of situation. Was Dallas right to not give him the max deal before they traded him?
I think the Mavericks did Luka very dirty. I mean, he just took them to the finals last year on one leg. I think they did Luka very dirty. I think they didn't want to pay him because they had concerns about his defense. They had a concern about this, that, and the other. But I mean, he is a legitimate generational player, like top 5 in the world already at 25. Yeah. And before, he's already a Hall of Famer. Because when you think about it, he won MVP at 17 playing in the EuroLeague, which is crazy. That's never been heard of. So before he was coming into the draft, he was already on his way to be a Hall of Famer. He is a Hall of Famer, and then you just trade him away, and you don't pay him.
And even at 17, he was out of shape.
Yeah, he's always been. Yeah, he's not athletic.
That's his situation.
Yeah, he's just not an athletic guy. Yeah.
And my question about it is because we always, because we talk about how people talk about women and stuff and being body shamed and things of that nature. If you have a player like Luka that has always been, to me, his game reminds me of a more successful James Harden. where you don't know.
I would say I don't know if he's reaching James Harden's level yet. I don't know all time. I think James Harden still has him by a little bit. I think James Harden still has him by a little bit.
I'm sorry.
Them
James
seasons
Harden,
were crazy.
If James Harden, I've seen Luka do a few things that James Harden didn't do.
I've seen James Harden do a few things Luka can't.
Because let's discuss this just a little bit. So there was a series between the Suns and the Dallas Mavericks.
Right.
You know, they had the Suns had the first overall pick, big man DeAndre Ayton, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And Luka was hunting him down.
Oh my God!
Luka was posting him up.
He's strong. Like he is.
I have
strong.
not seen James Harden come down the floor, legitimately point out a center, and they bring a center out to.
I will say this. I will say as my rebuttal. 2017 or 2018 versus the Utah Jazz, I saw him destroy the defensive player of the year. James Harden, he was, oh my God, prime James Harden, like there when he would have that streak of like 20 games in a row with 35 plus points, like that's one of the craziest scoring seasons I've ever seen. Like him as a pure scorer, I don't think Luka is there yet, but I think 100% by the end of his career, Luka will pass him.
Luka would pass, man. I think Luka would pass him in the next couple of years.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm not against that. I think that is very possible.
Because the issue I always have with James Harden is he's the best regular season player I've ever said.
Yes,
he is everything that George Gervin, these big guards that you would ever want on a big guard. He has all that game on him. But when it comes to playoff moments, when it comes to Game 7, you got 8 turnovers in the Game 7. You got
Luka definitely does have him beat. Luka does have him beating that playoff thing. Yeah,
and that's the thing that I have about James Harden, where I would love to be, because James Harden is he's not my favorite player. I could admit when he was in Houston, I enjoyed watching the Warriors beat them every year. But the reason was because he was an all-star in more places off the court than he was on the court. Yeah. And I wish that he'd have spent more time, like we talk about, or we hope Luka does. Oh, take the game seriously, get in better shape. Run real offense instead of give me the ball.
The heliocentric offense, and that was the Rockets' problem in general. The Rockets' entire team was like based on analytics and stats, and analytics is how you missed 27 threes in a Game 7 versus the Warriors. Like, I hated how that whole team was constructed, like that heliocentric offense. And then once Chris Paul, because they could have went to the finals, but Chris Paul got the injury, so they just had some bad luck too.
Oh, Chris Paul.
Yeah, I know.
But then Daryl Morey.
Yeah, I didn't like it how he constructed that team.
Then he goes to the 76ers, and what happens to them?
Yeah, he's something sometimes. He'll take these swings, because trading for James Harden was great. You traded Ben Simmons for James. That's a crazy deal. But then it's just been the construction and stuff like that with the Sixers have been weird. It just hadn't been good, no.
Yeah, so we're going to get to the next topic. Number 1 pick is going to the Dallas Mavericks now.
That made me so angry.
The Dallas Mavericks.
They do not deserve to get rewarded for what they did.
They I think they tanked them first.
They made me.
Then they tried to shut down AD. They let him play a little bit.
Yeah, oh my God.
And then when I think the moment Kyrie hurt his knee, they were cooked.
Yeah, the ACL. Yeah,
it was like, and then it's like they traded all the pieces that would have been able to step in if Kyrie got hurt. So my question to you is, can Cooper flag in 2 years? Because they're going to lose a lot next year.
Yeah.
But
they have AD at least.
Yeah, they're probably one of my favorite teams.
It'll be fun to watch. It'll be super fun to watch.
Especially if AD can stay halfway healthy.
Yeah, they're gonna be super fun to watch. Yeah.
But do you think that he can, be a force or even can he do anything with the killers out there in the Western Conference?
I think watching Cooper flag in college, he is a generational defensive player. I don't think he's a generational prospect. Like, I don't think he's like what Zion was coming into the league. But he's not Wemby. Like, he's not like that.
Right.
Anthony Davis, when he was coming in the league, was generational. I don't think that he's on that level, but I think he's a generational defensive player, and he's going to be amazing defensively. I think him as a playmaker, because in the tournament he showed that he can be a really good playmaker.
Yeah.
And then him as a scorer, I think that he's getting better consistently, like throughout the season, from the very first game he played at Duke all the way to the last game in the tournament. He was consistently like he was growing as an offensive player, and he was a good offensive player in high school and college, but he's just getting better. I think that he is going to be a really good player in the league. I don't think 2 years is rough, because for big men coming into NBA, it's a little bit more difficult, but I mean, he's like a wing big man type. So I think being next to Anthony Davis, he can learn a lot. So I think in the next 2 to 3 years, I mean, I would not necessarily put it out the realm of possibility that by year 3 he could be an all-star. I don't think that that's too crazy to say. I just hate that he went to that team, because they are I do not trust their management at all anymore.
No.
And I think that I would have liked to see him go to the Spurs. I wanted him to go to the Spurs once they got there. I wanted him to go to the Spurs.
Nah, the Spurs already got Wembanyama.
I think that him at the 4, Wembanyama at the 5, that team defensively would have been running the West for like the next 5 years.
Nah,
it would have been crazy.
Once again, the Spurs were another team I like.
Watching them lose, yeah.
So, but then they had Tim Duncan and David Robinson for so long.
Yeah.
And then Tim Duncan, they were beating the Heat a couple of years. They were right there with them. So, I think the Spurs have had their time.
They've had this, and then they're going to be around for a long time because they have Wemby. Yeah. And they got the second pick in this draft, so they're going to be around. They're going to be good for a long time.
They're going to be good. Then they got a couple of good young players too. So.
Really good young players. Yeah, they got the last 2 rookies of the year on their team.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, moving on, and we wanted to because I think Cooper Flag is going to bring some more energy, some more enthusiasm into the NBA, kind of like Caitlin Clark did last year.
Yeah.
And I think with more diverse audiences, more diverse players, especially him being homegrown and American. I just think that it is going to allow people to see that the NBA is more than just, an urban game sort of situation.
Yeah.
That we are, it's a worldwide game. And I'm excited to see what he would do with the Dallas Mavericks, but I don't have my hopes up. There's a lot of other young squads that I think are right there.
Yeah, I agree.
So we had an announcement this week. September, I think 13th. We got the fight of the century.
The
new fight of the century.
Yeah.
We got Canelo Alvarez, Pride of Mexico.
Yeah, Terrence Crawford. Yeah.
He's going up against Terrence Bud Crawford.
Yeah.
In the fight that I think should never take place. So, in your opinion, and this is my boxing because I usually covered boxing so long ago.
Yeah.
In your opinion, does Bud even belong in the ring with Canelo Alvarez?
So I will say this: when it comes to boxing, that's not my strong suit, but I do box, so I know a little bit about it. I think that Terrence Crawford is one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. Okay. I think Canelo Alvarez is one of the greatest fighters of all time. I do think Canelo Alvarez is going to win this fight, though. I do like Terrence Crawford a lot. I think that he's exciting. Like there's some boxers who, there's some boxers who are slowly bringing some of that relevance back to the sport. I think Terrence Crawford's one of them. Obviously, Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia are some of them too. But I think that Devin Haney. But I think that Terrence Crawford is, in terms of fights that I want to see Canelo Alvarez in, I think that he's one of those guys that would be an entertaining watch, because Canelo Alvarez fights can be very slow. Yeah, and he kind of has like is a little bit like that Floyd type thing. They can be a little bit slow. He does have a lot like crazy knockout power. Oh yeah, but I don't think he's going to knock out Terrence Crawford. I think that I could see it kind of being like Gervonta Davis, Lamont Roach's fight, where it comes down to decision, and then we get the second fight. Because I think that they're I think Canelo's better, but I think they are somewhat pretty evenly matched.
I think the fight that I would compare this to is a Triple G Canelo Alvarez fight.
Yeah.
Where it really could have been either one.
Yeah.
Now Canelo got the harder shots off, but
Right.
Triple G to me landed more punches.
Right.
Was a better boxer.
Mm-hmm.
Now they had a third fight where Canelo beat him down.
Yeah, it was bad.
But that's because Triple G is a lot older than he was when they got in the ring.
Yeah.
But to me, I just think that at 154, he could have conquered 154.
Mm-hmm.
The same way that he conquered 147.
Mm-hmm.
Get all 4 belts.
Mm-hmm.
But I know at this stage, he's finna be 40 years old.
Yes, yeah, he's older. He's older.
So now it's time to get this money.
Yeah.
But after seeing what Canelo did to Jamel Charlo, and how Jamel Charlo had almost no choice but to run away the whole fight they was fighting, do you really, me in boxing, I fought amateur for 6 months, and in my 10th fight, I couldn't do it no more.
Yeah, I bet, yeah.
Because I lost a decision. I lost like a 6-round decision where I boxed the dude to death.
Right.
But he got 2 really good shots on me. Yeah. Had a knockdown, and that's what made him win in the early round.
Yeah.
But when you realize how hard I got hit, and now you're never Canelo Alvarez, and he walks around at the weight that you 20 pounds heavier than what you normally fight at. Yeah. So he fights at that weight. Yeah. Now I would say that Canelo has a weakness, but his weakness is against bigger fighters, like when Bivol beat him. Yeah. Yeah. But then when he fought Caleb Plant, we thought he was invincible. Nope. that went out the window. And the thing is, I'm okay with fighters making money, okay? Right. Get your money, but at the end of the day, we need to open this thing up to where y'all have to fight these mandatories. Yeah. It shouldn't be 4 belts. I agree. And these promoters need to let these fighters fight it out, and it should be a ranking. If you're number 2, then is man. And the thing is, with the belts not really mattering, now everybody's just like, I need to get paid. Yeah, that means fighting 147 or 135, and I don't have to fight this young up and coming hungry guy. And when the last time we seen Shador fight somebody, he's boring too. That's another one. He's very boring. I cannot watch any. He is very boring. I was watching Bruce Ennis in his last fight, and I was like, he won that fight. Yeah, but if he was in there with Bud Crawford, he would have got, he was literally. I agree. He was taking punishment. He was taking hits. And I'm like, well, you're in there with this nobody right now. Yeah. But if you was in there with a top class fighter, a Barrios, or one of these other guys that can hit you and knock you out, and you leaving yourself open to do all this, they would have hurt you. Yeah. And so, to me, watching Crawford move into 168, where it's grown man power up here. Not to say that he's not a grown man. Yeah. But Canelo Alvarez, for that to be your first fight moving up is crazy. Yeah. But we know what the deal is. It's about the money. Yeah. But I'm really trying to think, do I want to pay for this fight? Because I don't want to see my man get hurt like he could. I think it could be something where I think he's enough. I think his strategy is good enough. I think he's good. He's quick enough because there's always going to be a trade-off. So Canelo's going to have to put Canelo's fast too. That's the thing. So it's like, I don't have a ton of confidence in him winning the fight, but I do think he can bring it to a decision. Yeah. And then maybe a draw. But I don't know if he's going to get knocked out though. So I think it would be worth buying because I do not think that Terrence Crawford will get knocked out. But I do not think he's going to win that fight. I can't count him out because they were saying that when he fought Earl Spence, he has a great chin. He has a great chin. Walk him down and beat him down, and he outmatched Earl Spence. He did the same thing. He was losing that fight with Porter. I was watching it the whole time. Porter came out with the orange on. He was doing this thing. He was putting it on him, and they told him he was losing. Right, and he came out with a whole left hand. I ain't gonna be losing now, but towards Dad threw in the towel. Yeah. How would you feel if you were getting beat in the fight and your dad threw in the towel for you?
I would not like that to happen at all. Actually,
No.
It's yeah. I mean, boxing's so interesting because like kind of what you were talking about, like the belts don't matter.
Nope.
That's how you get like, which is kind of a thing where it's funny because with boxing you can get like those super fights because of that. Because there's more like movement in terms of the weight classes, something that the UFC doesn't really have.
Right.
And then the belts matter a lot more in the UFC. So that's how you can get like these super fights. And like boxing, since it's not like an organized like association and it comes down to promoters and things like that, like you can get some crazy fights.
Oh yeah.
But the problem is it opens up so you don't necessarily get the best fights because it's people who shouldn't be in the ring together.
Right.
And that's the thing with boxing. And that's why I think boxing is for those high highs is really good. So like they'll sell a lot on a big fight, like on like no doubt that Tank versus Lamont Roach is going to sell like crazy. This fight is going to sell like crazy. But those lesser known smaller fights is where like because those fights are for titles, but they're not getting the same amount of because boxing is something where it does not have that. It's more of a it's always kind of been a spectacle, but it's becoming more of a spectacle.
Yeah.
And I think that's where boxing's problem. And I think that's where the UFC kind of took over boxing.
Yeah.
Is because like boxing to an extent, it felt like, well, why does this really matter? We're not fighting for anything but the purse. Whereas the UFC, like you'll see more, the belts matter a little bit more, heavyweight championships a little bit more, although the UFC has been declining too.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that is like boxing's problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of want to talk about that point you made about like the lack of the belts don't matter. I think that is very valid.
Yeah. Then I was watching, and please forgive me for bringing this up. You know, and I'm gonna put my wife on blast with this. Mike Tyson, Jake Paul.
Oh my God, that fight was terrible.
But I will say this: the fights that they had on the undercard.
Oh, they were good. There was those two girls that were the fight before. It was insane. That fight was amazing.
I feel like it was a robbery on the decision.
Yeah, that fight was amazing.
But the fight the two girls had was amazing. Mm-hmm. The two boxers, my man Barrios was in there. And he was doing this thing.
Yeah,
he almost got knocked out.
Yeah,
but he was in there making this money, and that's my point. I hate because at one point I'm thinking Jake Paul is a pariah. He needs to get kicked out of boxing.
Yeah.
This is a sham. No one should pay for this.
Yeah.
But then when I saw those undercard fights, him making the money with Mike Tyson allows these other guys to make money that they wouldn't have made if he wasn't there.
Yeah, and it gets them the exposure. That's why like they go so hard is because this is their chance to get exposure because the average person doesn't know who these people are. Right. But they know Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, so they're watching the undercard. Like, who are these people? So
yeah, my wife was asleep when they were fighting.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it was that fight was not good at all. And then Jake Paul is fighting Canelo too, which is gonna be that's gonna be wild. That's gonna be interesting.
So you've been promoted to youth pastor this year. And I know we've done some things with the tornado relief and some other stuff. So what are some ideas you have as far as the youth in the church and things of that nature? What's some ideas that you have for, just more activity with the youth this year?
Yeah. I'd say one thing that we're trying to work on is like a networking and like financial planning thing. Like just building up the habits for the future. Yeah. Resume, LinkedIn, like really important stuff that people are going to need going into like college or applying for internships, their first job. So that's one. We're trying to start up social media. I think that's really important. So just like a youth social media account, with like good quality production. Because we have people here who can do like video edit, take photos. So I think that stuff is really important. And then another thing would be like doing like the youth revival that we did a couple years ago. Oh man, we're gonna talk about doing that again.
That was one of the most fun nights.
We've
had.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so awesome. I think Stuart did a cut on that, and I posted it on my channel. It was just like, and especially having another musician come in. And he was really good when him and his wife were performing, and it was just a awesome night, especially when you, Tiala, and Karan, shout out to Karan, came with y'all messages. It was something for everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, sometimes I just want to check out. Dealing with the youth. I'm the old guy now. But now with me being back in Sunday school, it's like every time you come out.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, it's good to have. I think it's good to have you on board and kind of there for like the mentorship and things like that. So, I mean, I think it is important to have like other generations there to kind of give their perspective and help out and give that life advice that other people that you don't have it because they just haven't experienced it. So I think that it's very important.
Yeah, especially with a lot of stuff kind of going on in the community, the city and stuff.
Right.
So we definitely, it's not a day that goes by where we're not praying for our young people.
Right.
Recently I became a granddad. And
congratulations, by the way.
I'm gonna take Nathan out. We're gonna do some brunch tomorrow.
Hey, that's nice. That's nice. That's what's up.
Get out the way because
that's what's
probably
up.
Gonna be at his mom's house. Sunday.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where you're here one day. It just seems like yesterday y'all were graduating high school, and now you're in college and you're doing your own moves and it's a lot of stuff that comes at you fast. And you bring up financial awareness. Is one of the things that I think that they don't teach enough in school. As far as home ownership, when to purchase a car versus when to finance one.
Right.
Just ownership in general, what to invest in, how to invest in stocks, how to be financially sound, not panicking when things get bad.
Right.
Because some people make moves on the news.
Yeah.
News is bad. They sell everything, and when it's good, they go back in. And you're not going to win doing that.
Yeah.
And so I just think that you got an awesome young mind, awesome good head on your shoulders.
Thank you.
And did you have any questions for me?
Yeah, sure. Let me think about this. So basically I was, a question I have is with your podcast, what is cause I've been seeing that you're having the guest on things like that. So what is the direction that you're trying to go with your personal podcast?
My personal podcast is more of a pet project. Recently we took a turn to start being more men focused, Christian focused, about a few years ago. So it does require me to be more even keeled. Like I don't really get into the politics as often as I used to.
Yeah.
I used to work for Medicare, so it's one of those things where I had a lot more skin in the game back then.
Yeah.
But then YouTube kind of came about because I'm a musician and I like to teach people how to get into the game of doing music and playing music without having to spend a whole lot of money. So it's basically showing people how, you can buy a cheap keyboard off of Facebook and what you can do with it, or, different programs, or we'll be doing Ableton live tutorials this year.
Right.
We'll be getting that set up.
Okay,
so
nice.
That's what we do primarily on YouTube. And we're slowly but surely sprinkling the podcast from Spotify into YouTube.
Okay, there you go.
So one of those things.
Nice. So how long have you been doing music and music production?
I've been producing music for 3 years.
Oh, really?
So
I thought it was newer than that. Oh, okay. I thought it was a longer time. Wow.
The sound, like I said, when you learn how to do it, because I'm kind of bumping my head, learning how to produce music. Because there's one thing when you learn how to play.
Yeah.
And a lot of us know how to play good.
Yeah.
But when you hit record and then try to play.
Yeah. And then the mixing and all that. Yeah.
It is a whole different situation. There's some that can go on their keyboard and type up a good chord progression. But me, I kind of play by feel. And so I may take 5 takes and make sure I got something, a good idea down, or, different things of that nature. So it's one of those things where I've been producing music for 3 years, but I've been in music ministry this would be year number 13. So it's a lot. It's a lot that kind of goes into that.
Interesting. Yeah. I think like in terms of like the production side, that's kind of what I'm interested in, just not music production, more so video production, learning more about like filmmaking stuff every day. So that's hard takes a long time to learn. But,
oh man, you do an awesome job at church.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Man, you do an awesome job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up. It's been an awesome conversation with you.
Yes, sir.
Can you give us your social medias and
Yeah.
where to contact you on these internets?
Yeah. I'm trying to grow up my film video page. So Eric Battle Cinematics. And then on my personal page is just the Eric Battle. So no spaces or nothing. Yeah.
And can we follow you on TikTok, Instagram, and these things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. My TikTok I don't use as much, like in terms of posting. Like I mainly, because my Instagram, I'm mainly my photo and video. I'm gonna be posting some more stuff out there, so that's the thing. But in terms of like my TikTok, I don't really post on there much.
All right. Well, good luck to you, young man.
Cool. Thank you.
And we'll see you again next time.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you.